I still get tickled. I'm watching Rosie watch everybody else, and the laser intensity while she's watching everybody else talk is still evident, which is one of the great characteristics that she possesses. I don't know that I've ever coached anybody that's as intense, and I know we've got some football players in here that were probably very tough, but I'm here to tell you, this young lady may be as tough as any kid that we've. I'll tell you a couple quick stories before I get into some of Anna Rose's, or I don't call her Anna Rose, Rosie's accomplishments. About 5 years ago, we were fixing to play Wesson, and they had a new coach. And I kept looking at her and I said, I think I know this young lady. So before the game, we're talking, and I said, what is your first name? She said, Rusty. I said, Rusty Smith from down at West Lincoln. And Amita will remember this as well. When Amita was a senior, we went down there and they shot like 30 free throws, and we shot like 5, and they beat us by 1 or 2 points. Well, they had to come back to St. Andrews the next year. And I reminded them of how unjust it was confines of West Lincoln's very green gym. And she said, the girl that played point and guarded me, what was her name? I said, that was Anna Rose Poole. Yeah, I didn't like her very much. I said, why? And she said, well, I never could get below the timeline offensively. This is a kid who went on to play JUCO, and for those of you that are familiar with basketball in the JUCO league and football, some of the greatest athletes in this country play in the JUCO system. And here was a kid who would go on and play 2 years, and I think she went on to play somewhere else after that, who had a very difficult time even getting past the timeline. For those of you that don't, that's slightly below the free throw line, but timelines aren't on courts anymore. But those that back in that day will know what that means. Another story, we were in the weight room in the fall, and of course Rosie was not with us. She ran cross country and also played track, and she played softball, and I'll get into all that. And I do want to say hello to Coach Teal, who was her cross country coach, and her track coach is now the coach at Millsaps as well. But oftentimes when you're in the middle of practice, cross country girls would just come running through a facility. It would be the gym, but the old field house is what little weight rooms we had, weights we had were in that facility. And then there's a couple racks in there, and I don't even know that Rosie will remember this. But she comes in, and most of the football team had gone out to the field, and we're lifting. And she drops down on the bench and does 135 10 times, boom, boom, boom. While she's doing it, the remaining football players ease on out the back. She takes off and out she goes. And then the last, she probably doesn't even remember that. But
I thought my max was 110.
No. And modesty is another one of her great traits. But the other is one that I was always amazed at, and I actually didn't see it, but Jim told me about it many years ago, and it stuck with me. She was running, and I don't even remember what grade, state championship in cross country, and she ran a 5:45. Back then it was a 2 mile. She ran a 5:45 first mile, and she ran an 8-minute second mile, and when she crossed the finish line, she would just go white. And nobody could figure out what had happened. But it turns out she had cracked her tibia during the race, or a stress fracture. But she continued the race and finished it. And the toughness that she always exhibited, of course, the little girl down that was coaching at Weston, she can tell you about it. And those that played with her can also tell you about her intensity and her toughness. And the thing that I always enjoyed watching, and the relationship she has with her sister, or both her sisters. The one I got to watch was Mita and Anna Rose, and I don't ever remember having to say anything, which I always thought was unusual because we fought. My brothers, we fought all the time. And one time I can remember going through the gym, it was quiet, but they were going back and forth with one another, and I said something about, we can, split up if we need to. But so much support for each other over the years, and I will tell you that not only Rosie, but Mita as well, who was inducted last year, changed the women's program at St. Andrews. Completely changed it. And that's not to minimize anything anybody else has accomplished, but when I go down this list, you'll see what I'm talking about, and then I'm gonna hush and get out of the way. Softball, Rosie was the best defensive player in '94 and '95, and she in 1994 they finished district runner-up. Cross country accomplishments: two-time state champion in 1995 and 1996, two-time state runner-up in '97 and '98. Set course records at St. Andrews, at Mississippi State, at Southern, Vicksburg, and Brandy. State champions, her team, all 4 years. In her senior year, Andy, correct me, perfect score. They were 1 through 5, scored a 15. And I think the next two runners that came in, which they don't count in the score, were also from St. Andrews. So an impressive, the most impressive athletic group of females that I've ever seen come through St. Andrews in one grade. Just tremendous. Track and field, state champion in the following events. 4 state champions in the 1600 meter, 1996 through 99. 2-time state champion in the 800 meter, 1998-99. 400 meter state champion, 1999. 4x4 meter state champion in 1999. She was one of only 5 girls on the '96 state championship team. And you think about that won a state championship, 5. And one of them was a thrower. Okay, she's also in this room. Okay. These girls won a state championship with 5 people. Then in '99 when they won it again, there were only 8 girls on that team. Set the all-time state record in the 1600 meter with a time of 5:06. That was in 1999. Set the 2A state record in the 800 meter of 2:20 in 1999. Set school record in 800 meter at USM at 2:19. Set school record in 400 meters at state meet with a 59:68. Set South State record in 1600 and 800 in 1999. Won district, regional, South State in the 3200, the 1600, the 800, and the 400 26 times. Still holds the state record in the 1600 and the 800 meters today. Basketball. She was all district in '97 and '99. She was a member of 2 division championship teams. She still holds the single game record for 14 steals in one ball game. That's a lot of stealing. She's the single season assist record holder at 162. She has the most career assists in school history at 450. Single season steal record at 138. Most career steals at 353. She, in the 25 years that I've been at St. Andrews, she's the only middle school student that we brought up and played. She played as an 8th grader and then actually worked into a starting position. But her 5-year career record, the team that she was on, we won 113 games and only lost 36. She is the 2nd all-time in scoring with 1,163 points. And her team, the teams that she played on, currently hold 14 different school records. Total 4 letters in cross country, 3 in softball, 6 in track and field, 5 in basketball, 18 total letters, 9 individual state championships. She won 1 relay team state championship. Academically, equally as impressive. She was, of course, I'm not sure that we call it the Adele Franks then, but today she would be what we call the Adele Franks winner of the highest GPA in the school. She was also Miss St. Andrews. She was a National Merit semifinalist. She was a Wendy's High School Heisman finalist in 1999. And she was part of, I was looking through the annual today and she won science awards. I just said, well, people will get the idea. She is, without a doubt, one of the toughest and most intense people that I've ever worked with. And she's also one of the kindest and sweetest. This year, it's with great pride that we elect Anna Rose into the St. Andrews Athletic Hall of Fame from the class of 1999.
listening. All my accomplishments. It's really just such an honor to be included in this group of people who's so amazing, and especially my two sisters who I know are really amazing. So thank you to all the people who put it together, and Coach Till and Coach King and everybody else whose teams I got to be on. I just want to highlight how I think this whole thing speaks to St. Andrew's commitment to the growth of young people through sports. It's a particular setting that I'm sure everyone in the room can understand. Can't be dealt with by tests on paper or some other kind of academic exam. The sports teams that I got to be on at St. Andrews were also just encouraging and edifying, and once I met some other athletes in college who were just sort of bickering or trying to one-up each other, I thought about what a special environment it was that St. Andrews set up with intentionally picking coaches who want to get to the real point by using sports and children's natural ambition, which is often really strong. So I think St. Andrews does a really good job at setting up facilities for that. I know when I was in 10th or 11th grade, the school had a fund to build our first track, and that was awesome. A couple years later, we didn't have meets on it then, but we got to enjoy the state championship that was facilitated by actually practicing on a real track instead of running on asphalt all the time. But that's just one part of it, and another is that every girl who was older than I was seemed to get the vibe from the coaches that this was about encouragement of each other and not about oh, she's younger than me, I don't want her to start if, XYZ. And one example is in middle school, Mita and I were both fighting about who would get Teresa's jersey number, because we both wanted to have, we both loved how Teresa was a great athlete and wanted to sort of carry that on. And I thought, this is really going to be a battle. I'm willing to stick it out and fight for this jersey number. And before I knew it, Mita had said, no, I think you should have it. It's okay. And that sort of was a turning point, maybe in our friendship or relationship. But after that, I just felt like, okay, this is where we're looking out for each other. We don't have to have exclusive success. It can be success together. A couple years later, I was rethinking with my husband how much of a baby I think I was during basketball practice. Once I was so angry, I think I kicked a basketball across the court, just punted it, and then a few weeks later, a friend of mine really showed me that it wasn't all about me. One of these, a ring I was wearing got stepped on in practice, and it was kind of deformed. I was so mad. It was just some silly ring, and I threw it away. And a classmate said, "No, Anna Rose, I think you want this. This is a nice piece of jewelry that you have. You should keep it." That was Anna Purvis, and she was very gently saying, "Listen, this is not all about you, and this is about the team." And that was just a good reminder. Sorry, I'm just kind of trying to calm down. But and then the last story that I'm just grateful for is how these rules that we would have on the teams are just so good for me as an adult now. Coach Till and Coach King didn't play favorites. I really thought that I could get away with being late to practice because I thought Coach King would be able to relate to how I really wanted a Frosty from Wendy's. So I was about 10 minutes late, and he would have none of it. He didn't think it was cute, and I wasn't particularly special. And that's just really important for me to learn that this is about the team and not about me being somehow funny.
I could have been easily bought off with a Frosty.
But thank you to St. Andrews for investing so much in something that is still what I think many people draw on for their life lessons and confidence and all sorts of things. So thank you so much.